Hey everybody, it's Diane Armitage. I've been having some people send me DMs and some comments and some emails about some of the last few emails that I've put out with some videos for you to get your new year started. And they're like, oh man, you make it look so easy. It's just so easy for you. Oh, let me tell you, my friend, hasn't always been easy. Hasn't always been easy. And I have to say that it is a daily exercise in understanding where your power comes from and where your consciousness leads you to. And that really is the key to what changed up my life. And I have to say, way back 27 years ago, yeah, that's a long time ago, I thought I was doing everything right. I was going to the right college. I was getting the right degrees. I was starting in my corporate world. I just bought my house in the old neighborhood I used to live in. And, I was doing everything right. I was climbing the corporate ladder and I was at a really great, big, huge company. I had a great title and I was probably 27. And I was thinking, wow, this doesn't feel like a corporate ladder to me. This feels more like a footstool. It's not like I'm not really getting up there. I'm not really making that huge income that I wanted to make. I've been working at it. I've been working at it. I'd been working since I was 17 years old. And I thought, okay, I got to get another job. So then I went and got another job. And I was a waitress at a restaurant. And so I would work all day. I would rush to the waitressing job. And then I would try to get to the gym and work out at 11 o'clock at night so that I could then get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to my first job, to then go to my second job, to then go. And this was my way of living my life and thinking that this was what you had to do to make it happen in your world. What a miserable way to live your life. And I finally got to the point where I was just so uncomfortable in it. I thought, there's got to be a better way to do this because, of course, I'm looking at heroes, I'm looking at icons, and I'm thinking they sure make it look easy. There's got to be a better way to do this. Well, fortunately, or as happenstance goes, I had begun studying in the realm of self-improvement and, psycho-cybernetics and Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. And at the time, my company had a huge convention in Las Vegas, and I had become, by just random choice, of course, there's never anything random choice, I became Bob Proctor's handler for the event, which meant that he was teaching here, and then he was going to go do a workshop here, and I, all 5'2" of me, was going to be his security guard to get him from here to there. And I'd heard about him before, but I didn't know much about him. And he taught this amazing keynote that really opened up my brain and really opened up my mind and got me starting to think about what I could possibly do in my life. And as we were walking from the keynote to the workshop, we're in this big hallway and it's all really well lighted. I remember like it was yesterday. And we're trotting along, and I looked at him and I said, I've been thinking of starting my own company. And then I was like, where the hell did that idea come from? I haven't even said that to myself, let alone to this total stranger. And he stopped in his tracks and he kind of looks at me and he says, well, is this something you love? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, do you love this thing, this company that you want to start? And I said, yeah, I'm a writer and I think I could be a freelance writer and I could have my own clients and do my own thing. And I think it would be really exciting. And he looks at me again and he really looks at me and he was like, you're more right-brained than you are left-brained. He said, in fact, as I look at you, you're all right-brained. You're all creative. He said, I think you should do it. And then he started walking along, right? And it was that moment that really started changing things in my world because I started thinking about the possibility of what could happen if I took the reins and made something different happen in my life. Now, at the time, I was in the corporate bubble. I had benefits, I had insurance, I had friends around me to go to lunch every day. It was, a fairly easy coast, even though I was working very hard at the company and I was making enough money to pay my mortgage and do all this stuff. But, once you have that seed planted, and it's not planted by somebody else, it may be recognized by somebody else, but once that seed starts to bloom in your mind, you just can't do anything about it. And you know why that is? Because your spirit is for expression and expansion, always. That's what's put on this earth to do, to pull you along, to push you along, to gently prod you into what you were really put on this earth to do and how you really fulfill your purpose in this world. So it took me months and months before I moved into a part-time kind of thing for my freelance while I still held on to this job and I still held on to that job. And it took another bit of prodding from Bob at a lunch that we had together. This is all explained in my Conversations with Bob class. And then I finally decided to make the break. And it was really interesting because I was so concerned that I was never going to make any money in my life that I waited and waited for a very small bonus check to come around. I waited another month and a half at my job, waiting for that little bonus check to come along before I would leave that company. And I got the bonus check and I jumped in my car and I drove to the airport and I flew to Toronto and I met with the top North American real estate agent of that time. His name was Craig Proctor, and he signed me on to be his marketing director that night. And the very next morning, I walked into his workshop because he had brought me in to see how he was going to start teaching these workshops to teach other agents about what he was doing. And I walked in, and within a minute, Bob Proctor walked in. And we both looked at each other, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I started my own company, and I flew up here yesterday, and now I'm working with Craig." And he said, "Well, do you have room for another client?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure I do." Thinking, oh yeah, he's connected. He knows all these motivational speakers. He knows all these people in his world. He may have somebody in his world who needs a writer. And he said, "I want to hire you." And he did. So in that time frame, I secured 2 large contracts that were beyond my comprehension, making $27,000 a year. And it was so funny to realize that I had waited for a month and a half to get that $500 check before I was willing to jump into something that gave me close to $10,000 a month immediately. This is how things work when you play with the way you're supposed to go on your purpose. It's how things work. Now, I'm not saying that it was always easy. I mean, I had made a goal in May that I would make $125,000 by the end of the year. And I had no idea how that was ever going to happen. I'd never seen that kind of money in my life. And I ended up making $126,030 or something like that at the end of that year. But interestingly enough, as I continued to study and as I continued to get to know how much power I had to direct my own life, my income began to exponentially move. The balance in my life began to exponentially change. I began to see things and move in directions where I really felt the opportunity and the fun was there. Where the joy was, that's where I wanted to be. And granted, I moved from Colorado to Laguna Beach. I tried the corporate world again, didn't like it so much. And I did it because I wanted to be safe and secure, because being an entrepreneur was a little bit scary and rocky. Jumped back into entrepreneurialism, I think that's the word, and then moved to Laguna Beach, the only place that I really wanted to live in North America. And I've been here for 21 years. I've established another business in Laguna Beach. I've continued to work with Bob Proctor for years and years and years. I've worked with all sorts of large corporate entities, all sorts of amazing motivational speakers, including Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield and Michael Gerber and Mary Morrissey and all these amazing people. And I'll tell you, it isn't always easy. It hasn't been this smooth ride that you see in people's social media. I mean, I've created some interesting ups and downs in my world. I lost everything in, 2009. I lost everything in 2009. And I had to rebuild from the ground up on that kind of thing. But I have to tell you, my friend, I'm no different than you are, because I have a spirit in me. Okay, you have a spirit in you. I have a purpose to be on this planet. Yes, you have a purpose to be on this planet. And I'll tell you, when you begin to study the kind of things that I've studied, and when you begin to understand what you've got going on under that hood, you really are going to be able to flourish. You really can blossom into what you would love, into what you enjoy, into how you want to live your life every day. I live my life the way I want to live it every day. I go down to the boat harbor. I go do outrigger. I go down to the pool when I feel like going down to the pool. I take an elevator down to the sand and just stand on the edge of the ocean every night to watch the sunset. I do things in my life that I love doing. Does this mean that I don't work anymore? I don't worry anymore? I don't create things in my life that cause me stress? No. No. But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it. And that's the key, to just keep getting better at it, figuring out how your mind works, getting better at getting rid of that stuff that keeps trying to hold you back. Not people, not circumstances. It's the stuff in your head that may have been planted there years ago. You may have allowed it in last month. But the bottom line is, now's the time to change. Now is the time to really step up and step into your life. Now, I have goals for this year ahead in 2022 that are giant goals. They're giant goals. They make me a little nervous. They make my hair stand on end. Okay? So it's not like I've got everything and I'm done no. It's always about growth. It's always about stepping onto that edge, believing in yourself, and seeing all the magic that happens around you when you begin to take action on what you really want in your life. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my history. So many of you don't really know that much about me. And I have to say, I'm just somebody like you. And I've been through it, and I just want to help you through it as somebody who really understands what it's like to live in a smaller situation, wanting something bigger, struggling to get to that space, taking the step, taking the leap, and believing enough in myself to know that it's going to work out all right. That's where I come from, and that's where I teach from the heart with any of my students and my clients who come into my life. So I just wanted to give you that story. I just wanted to tell you that no matter what, you've got it in you to make it happen. And if you don't think you've made it happen big enough in the years past, now's your time, baby. Now's your time. I'm not giving you permission. It's not my job to give you permission any more than it was Bob Proctor's job to give me permission when we were in that giant, huge hall in Las Vegas. But you can give yourself permission. And now it's your time to fly. I look forward to getting to know you better. And thanks.